The lobby of the Golden Crown brand hotel sparkled with its usual opulence, crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and the quiet efficiency of staff in their signature gold-trimmed uniforms. As director of operations, I'd spent 5 years perfecting every detail of the guest experience. Now, standing in my office on the top floor, I watched Robert Crawford, my father-in-law and CEO of Golden Crown Hotels, pace like a caged lion. "The numbers don't lie, Michelle," he said, waving the quarterly report like a weapon. "Occupancy rates are down 15% across the chain. We're losing market share to boutique hotels. Your modernization strategy is failing." I kept my voice calm, thinking of the real numbers safely stored in my private cloud drive. "The temporary dip is expected during renovations. Our advance bookings for next quarter are actually up by..." "Enough." Robert slammed the report onto my desk. His perfectly tailored suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders. "The board meeting is tomorrow. I expect you to take responsibility for this disaster." After he stormed out, I sat down heavily in my chair, remembering the day 5 years ago when I joined Golden Crown Hotels. I'd been a rising star in the hospitality industry, known for turning struggling properties into luxury destinations. Robert had pursued me aggressively, not just for the company, but as a match for his son David. The marriage had come first, then the job offer. "Join us," Robert had said. "Help make Golden Crown Hotels a true luxury empire." Back then, I believed him. Believed in his vision of a family-run business where merit mattered more than blood. How naive I'd been. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Dad just called. What's going on?" I stared at the message, wondering if my husband had any idea what his father was planning. David worked in the company's legal department, deliberately kept separate from operations by Robert's Division of Responsibilities policy. "Meeting tomorrow will be interesting," I texted back. "Make sure you're there." Opening my laptop, I pulled up the real financial reports. The ones showing how my modernization strategy had actually saved Golden Crown Hotels millions in operating costs. Robert had been cooking the books, manipulating numbers to make my initiatives look like failures. What he didn't know was that I discovered his scheme months ago. The evidence was damning: falsified occupancy rates, hidden profits, mysterious transfers to offshore accounts. Classic fraud, executed with just enough sophistication to fool a casual audit. But I hadn't been casual. I'd been very, very thorough. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. Alice Chen, my assistant and closest ally in the company, entered with a stack of files. "The documents you requested," she said quietly, closing the door. "And it's happening. Robert just called an emergency board meeting for 9 a.m. tomorrow." I nodded, unsurprised. "Earlier than expected, but we're ready. Is everything in place?" Alice smiled, a rare expression on her usually serious face. "Sunrise Hospitality Group's representatives will be waiting in the conference room down the hall. The timing will be perfect." Sunrise Hospitality Group. The name still brought a smile to my face. 3 years ago, when I first suspected Robert was undermining me, I created the company as a shell corporation. Using my personal savings and some careful investments, I'd slowly begun acquiring Golden Crown Hotels stock through various subsidiaries. "And the auditors?" I asked. "On standby. They've reviewed all the documentation you provided. The forensic accounting report is complete." I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the city where I'd built my career. The sun was setting, casting long shadows between the skyscrapers. By this time tomorrow, everything would change. "Michelle," Alice said hesitantly, "are you sure about this? Once we start?" "Robert made his choice," I replied. "He chose to betray not just me, but everything this company stands for. The fraud, the manipulation, the offshore accounts, it all stops tomorrow." Later that evening, as I packed up my office, just in case things didn't go as planned, David called. "Dad's on the warpath," he said without preamble. "He's telling everyone you've mismanaged the company into the ground. What's really going on?" I thought about our 5 years of marriage, about the man who stood by me even when his father's criticisms became increasingly harsh. David was a good person, trapped between loyalty to his father and his sense of right and wrong. "Come home early tonight," I said. "There's something you need to see before tomorrow's meeting." In our apartment's home office, I showed David everything. The real financial reports, the evidence of his father's fraud, the documentation of how my modernization strategy had actually improved the company's position. His face grew increasingly pale as he read through the files. "Dad, he did all this? But why?" "Control," I said simply. He never really wanted innovation or change. He wanted someone to blame when his old-school methods stopped working. A scapegoat. David ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so like his father's it made my heart ache. "What are you going to do?" I showed him one final document, proof of Sunrise Hospitality Group's ownership structure. His eyes widened as he realized what he was seeing. "Yuan, but how?" "Carefully," I said. "Very carefully. The question is, David, what are you going to do tomorrow when everything comes out?" He was quiet for a long time, staring at the evidence of his father's crimes. Finally he looked up, his jaw set in a way I'd never seen before. "The right thing," he said. "I'm going to do the right thing." That night, as we lay in bed, David whispered, "I'm sorry. About Dad, about all of it." I squeezed his hand in the darkness. "Tomorrow isn't about revenge," I told him. "It's about setting things right. Your father built this company on a good foundation. He just lost his way. And now? Now we rebuild. The right way." Morning came too quickly and not quickly enough. I dressed carefully in my best suit, Chanel, bought with my first bonus as a hotel manager. In my briefcase were copies of all the documents that would expose Robert's fraud and reveal the true ownership of Golden Crown Hotels. As our car pulled up to the hotel, David reached over and squeezed my hand. "Ready?" I thought about the long path that had led to this moment, the late nights, the careful planning, the quiet accumulation of power, while Robert thought he was destroying my career. "Ready," I said, stepping out into the morning sun. The Golden Crown Grand Hotel rose before us, its windows gleaming like a promise. Time to show everyone who really wore the crown. The Golden Crown Hotel's main conference room was already full when I arrived. Board members in expensive suits clustered around the massive mahogany table, whispering among themselves. Robert stood at the head of the table, radiating confident authority in his tailored charcoal suit. "Ah, Michelle," he said, his smile razor-sharp. "So glad you could join us for your last board meeting." I took my usual seat, noting the security guards positioned by the doors. Robert had planned quite a show. From the corner of my eye, I saw Alice slip quietly into the room, nodding almost imperceptibly. Everything was in place. "Now then," Robert began, addressing the board. "We're here today to address the catastrophic mismanagement of our operations under Michelle Crawford's direction. The numbers, as you can see." "Actually," I interrupted, standing up, "before we continue, I have some interesting numbers of my own to share." Robert's face darkened. "You're out of order. Security, please escort Mrs. Crawford from the premises." "I wouldn't do that," David said, speaking up from his place near the door. "Not until everyone sees what's in these files." He began distributing folders to each board member. "What is this?" Robert demanded, but I could see the first flicker of fear in his eyes. I clicked a button on my laptop, and the room's screens came to life. "This, Robert, is the truth. The real financial reports for Golden Crown Hotels over the past 3 years. Not the doctored versions you've been showing the board." The room erupted in murmurs as board members began flipping through the documents. Robert's face had gone pale. "These reports show that my modernization strategy actually increased our profit margins by 23%. I continued. "They also show systematic fraud, with millions diverted to offshore accounts under your control." "This is absurd," Robert sputtered. "You can't prove." "Actually, she can," a new voice said. Martin Reynolds, head of the forensic accounting team I'd hired, walked in with his own stack of documents. "We've traced every transaction. The evidence is quite thorough." Robert's composure finally cracked. "You ungrateful little. I gave you everything. This company, a career, my son. You gave me nothing," I cut in sharply. "I earned my position. I built my career. And as for your son," I glanced at David, who nodded encouragingly. "He chose to stand for what's right." "It doesn't matter," Robert sneered, regaining some confidence. "The board won't act on these ridiculous accusations. I still control this company." "About that," I smiled, nodding to Alice. She opened the conference room's side door, admitting a group of serious-looking executives. Allow me to introduce the representatives of Sunrise Hospitality Group, which now owns 51% of Golden Crown Hotels shares. The blood drained from Robert's face. Impossible. Those shares aren't for sale to outsiders. They were very much for sale, I corrected him, through various subsidiaries and on the open market. Would you like to know who owns Sunrise Hospitality Group, Robert? Before he could respond, I projected the ownership documents onto the screens. There was my name, clear as day, as the majority owner of the company that now controlled Golden Crown Hotels. You see, I continued, addressing the stunned board members. While Robert was busy manipulating numbers and undermining my position, I was quietly building something of my own. Every bonus I earned, every investment I made, went into acquiring shares through Sunrise Hospitality. It took 3 years, but finally. You planned this, Robert whispered. All of it. No, Robert, you planned this. I just made sure I was ready when you finally showed your true colors. The next hour was a blur of legal proceedings and board votes. Robert was removed as CEO pending a full investigation into the fraud allegations. The security guards he'd brought to escort me out instead escorted him from the building. As the board members filed out, many stopping to shake my hand or offer congratulations, David approached me slowly. Dad's never going to forgive this, he said quietly. I touched his arm gently. Are you okay? He was quiet for a moment, then squared his shoulders. Yes, because you did the right thing. We did the right thing. In the weeks that followed, Golden Crown Hotels underwent a transformation. The forensic audit revealed the full extent of Robert's fraud. Nearly $50 million diverted to personal accounts over 5 years. The press had a field day with the story. Hotel Harris outsmarts corporate tyrant was my personal favorite headline. But the real work was just beginning. I implemented the modernization strategy properly without Robert's sabotage. We renovated aging properties, updated our technology, and reinvested in our staff. Within 6 months, our occupancy rates hit record highs. Margaret, my mother-in-law, surprised everyone by reaching out to me privately. I always knew Robert was too controlling, she admitted over coffee one day. I just never had the courage to stand up to him. It wasn't about courage, I told her. It was about doing what's right for the company and its people. Robert faced criminal charges for the fraud, eventually accepting a plea deal that kept him out of prison but banned him from any corporate leadership positions. David visited him occasionally, trying to maintain some family connection while standing firm on his principles. 1 year after the takeover, I stood in my old office, now my CEO office, looking out over the city. The Golden Crown Grand Hotel still sparkled below, but now it was just one jewel in a truly modern luxury hotel chain. Alice knocked and entered, carrying our latest financial reports. Record profits again, she said, smiling. The board is thrilled. And the employee profit-sharing program? Rolling out next month. The staff can't believe they're getting ownership stakes. I smiled, thinking of how far we'd come. The hotel empire Robert had built through fear and manipulation was now growing through innovation and shared success. Every employee had a stake in our future, just as I'd always believed they should. That evening, as David and I had dinner in the hotel's rooftop restaurant, he raised his glass in a toast. To the real queen of Golden Crown Hotels. I clinked my glass against his, thinking of the long journey that had brought us here. To doing things the right way, I corrected him. And to family, the ones we choose and the ones who choose to do right. Looking out over the city lights, I remembered something my first hotel mentor had told me. In this business, luxury isn't about gold fixtures and marble floors. It's about making people feel valued. Robert had never understood that. He'd seen the crown but missed the responsibility it represented. Now, Golden Crown Hotels was more than just a luxury brand. It was a testament to the power of patient planning, ethical leadership, and the courage to stand up for what's right. The crown had fallen, yes, but something much more valuable had taken its place. A legacy built on integrity, innovation, and shared success. As for me, I kept Robert's old nameplate on my desk, turned face down. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that true power isn't about control. It's about creating something worth controlling in the first place.